You're listening to Counterclockwise, where we decide the best of the best of unimportant categories. The 80s heartthrob across the table from me is my favorite brother, Brandon Wise. How are you?
I'm feeling groovy. I didn't know how to transition. I didn't know what to say after that, but
no. Okay.
Tubular? Is that an 80s thing?
Tubular, radical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on, man.
80s lines. But
to answer your question, this is my favorite time of the year. Well, our favorite time of the year.
Yeah, it's spooky season.
It's spooky season. Guardians are in the playoffs. We're still running off that 7-0 win today. Like, I'm riding off that high. Ohio State won.
Yeah.
It was weird at the beginning, but they won.
It was iffy in the first half.
And you know what? Today has been almost a perfect day, and no matter what, the Browns will not ruin it for me tomorrow.
Yeah.
I will not even probably watch them because... No. I am riding this high.
Not even going to give him the chance to.
I'm riding this high until Monday's playoff game and then that's when my mental health will go back to the trash.
Yeah. The whole morning until like 11 a.m. when they play for some reason.
We got the 9 a.m. nobody gives a shit time slot.
Yeah. It's early morning, like crack of dawn. Oh, it's time to play some baseball. Who's it? Oh, the teams nobody cares about? Yeah, that's right. Save the good time slots for all the rich teams. Anyway, I'm Tyler Wise, and is that a muscular bot or what? Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, coming up in about 23 seconds.
It's Halloween. Number 1, you can never have sex.
Today we're making love while that young boy drunk.
Hard, scary, fairy. You can run, but you can't hide.
I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare.
All right, so we're doing a little something different today. This is actually one of the first ideas we had when we wanted to start a podcast, was to do something along these lines.
This is like our second idea, aside from the main top.
The top 5. Yeah, this was one of those things where we're just kind of doing it casually at a bar together, and we realize, hey, we should be recording this.
All of our ideas have come from when we were at the bar together.
Yeah, like we're just starting to get drunk.
Yeah,
because once you get a few too many pops in you, then the ideas start being a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
But the early ones are usually pretty good.
Our pilot episodes.
Yeah. So we're kind of wedging this in. We're going to try to cram the puzzle piece in to fit our theme of deciding the best of the best of unimportant stuff by talking about movies that are not great. They take themselves seriously.
Although I take exception to us doing this movie but we'll get into it.
Yeah.
But before we get started, in honor of spooky season and us talking about, Jason Takes Manhattan, I do have a little Jason in a jar.
Jason in a jar.
Jason in a jar. No, it's from the final scene in you could pick 3 of them.
Yeah, I think there's 3 different ones.
There's like 3 different movies where he ends up
chained by the neck at the bottom of Crystal Lake.
Yeah. And that's what that is. There's a chain and a rock, and he's staring at us. So I figured he's watching over us.
Yeah.
Jason is blessing our podcast right now.
And that's where he ends up right before we pick up with this movie, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's a perfect fit. Also, you told me that this is our 13th episode, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So it makes perfect sense. 13, unlucky 13, it's a spooky number.
So we got
also makes sense for spooky season, but also 13, Friday the 13th.
Naturally, we have to do a Friday the 13th.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, 100%.
And this is I think this is a perfect movie to start with because it hits our theme where we wanted to kind of highlight, showcase, I guess, movies that we get a real kick out of, movies that we love, even though they're just really badly made. And we just kind of like make fun of them.
See, you brought this up originally, and I did not want to do it because
I suggested the movie.
It's widely known, it's universally hated as like the worst sequel of the series. And I take great offense to that because I love this movie. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care about continuity. I don't care about any of that. I love this movie. As stupid as it is, I love it. And I've seen it so many times. This sequel is the most Friday the 13th movie I've ever watched.
Really?
Of any of them. And I've seen them all, but that's my favorite one.
Yeah, and that's funny because...
Well, maybe not my favorite, but like that's the one I enjoy watching the most. If that makes any sense.
Yeah,
you
sure.
know?
This was one I had never seen until now. I haven't watched a lot of the sequels. You don't really see this on TV much. They don't really show much of like anything past like the fourth one on TV much. It's mostly like 3 and 4. Jason, is what you see on TV.
Number 6, I think Jason Lives. That's my favorite one.
Is that 6?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe it's like 3 through 5 are the ones that you see on TV all the time. For whatever reason, you don't see the first 2 very much.
7's on a lot too, randomly. I see 7 on all the time.
Which one is that? That's New Blood or whatever.
It's the telekinesis.
Telekinetic. Yeah, she's off-brand Carrie.
Yeah.
I actually read that that's what they wanted to make. They wanted to make. Well, they planned on making, or they were trying to make the Freddy versus Jason happen early on.
Yeah.
But they couldn't get the deal done or whatever. So they were like, well, what's the next best thing? And they're like, well, let's do Jason versus Carrie. Because that was still kind of big at the time. I think that had come out a couple years earlier.
That sounds like they just like took a horror movie generator and just clicked it twice.
They put some like characters in a hat and pulled them out.
Yeah.
So that was the idea. And they're like, okay, well, let's just make off-brand Carrie and have Jason fight her for some reason.
So basically, the main of all the Friday the 13th movies, they all take place at Camp Crystal Lake.
Yeah.
He's a big murderous maniac killing teenagers that have sex, right? Okay, that's the main thing. Except in the first one, obviously, it says mom. But this one is just completely out of its element. Like,
yeah.
And the title is misleading.
It's very misleading.
That's a very understandable criticism, and that's a fair criticism.
He does ultimately get to Manhattan,
but he doesn't take it. He's just kind of there.
And he doesn't kill anybody from Manhattan. The only people he does. I guess he does kill the like super guy.
Yeah.
Does he? Oh, and the like gangsters, the like druggy gangsters in the back alley. So I guess he does take out like 3 people. I guess so generally the idea here, and we still haven't figured out a name. We will have figured out a title by the time you hear this out there, but at the time of recording, we haven't decided on a title for these. But the general idea, we're going to just kind of do a basic overview of the movie and then just kind of break it down by, headers here that we want to hit that are kind of specific to bad movies and why we love bad movies.
I just hope I can read my notes because I watched this movie yesterday. Because you came over today and we watched it just before the Gardos handled their business. Mm-hmm. And I watched it at night, so I wasn't gonna watch it with the lights on, obviously.
Yeah, no, you gotta get the.
So I'm trying to like write all my notes down in like pure darkness. I don't even know if I can read most of my stuff.
We'll see. It'll be a fun adventure.
Yeah, but like I've seen it so many times that
you don't even need.
I don't really need the notes. So,
do you want to just let's just roll into some details, the vital statistics here of Jason Takes Manhattan. Got an hour 40 runtime. At the time, it was the longest in the series. A lot of it broke a lot of ground with this movie in a couple ways. That's one of them. It was released July 28th, 1989. It was filmed mostly in Vancouver. There's a couple moments in Times Square that they actually shot and a couple other places, but mostly Vancouver. Written and directed by Rob Hedden. Budget was $5 million estimated. That was the most expensive of the series at that point. Had an opening week of $6.25 million. Overall, it grossed $14.3 worldwide, and that was the worst performance to date in the series. And like we said, this is the 8th movie in the series in the franchise.
I was reading through all the critics and stuff, and I know it's critics. Critics generally don't like horror movies,
Yeah.
So
you take it with a grain. Pretty good.
You take it with a grain of salt, like right. But man, these were some scathing like reviews, and I'm just like, I think it was unfair. I don't know how to explain. It's just I don't know. It's just different. I think it's just probably because I like different.
Yeah, it does switch it up.
It doesn't follow the same cookie cutter as every other movie. Even in the reboots was the same idea.
Yeah.
You know, so like, and I'm fine with that. That's not a bad thing. I think that's why I like Manhattan so much, is because it takes place on a cruise ship, man. Like, it's so cool. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
there's
definitely issues with it, but there's issues with all of them.
There's some gnarly death scenes, and it's like,
I think it's super memorable too. Like I said, I had never heard of it, or I'd heard of it, but I'd never seen it up until this weekend.
Yeah.
But I knew there were some key scenes that I knew that were just kind of famous. I knew that this movie existed. I could rattle off the name of this one. There's a lot of the other ones. I'm still scratching my head, and I literally just refreshed my memory on all these, and I still can't remember the titles to all of them.
Yeah,
because they're all pretty much dumb. Like there's two different movies with the word "new" in them.
Yeah,
like come on.
Yeah.
There's also two with the word "final" in the subtitle. Like, all right. We've gotten a little stale with these, I think. So I think you're right with going on a cruise ship. It probably should be called Jason Takes a Cruise to Manhattan, but that's something.
Okay, it's these group of seniors. They're being rewarded by going on a cruise ship docked near Camp Crystal Lake.
Yeah,
and their crew.
By the way, real quick before we get into that, where is Crystal Lake?
When I looked it up, it's like in the Jersey area.
Okay.
I looked up like the wiki page for like not the actual on Wikipedia, but like
the like Jason Wiki or whatever, Jasonpedia,
and the fictional camp they said was located in Jersey.
Okay.
So so these seniors are being rewarded. They go on a cruise ship to New York, and obviously
didn't they? This is like post graduation, right? They're supposed to be.
Yeah,
okay.
But for some reason, it's
cold in New Jersey.
It's cold, and there's still like a biology project that
only one student has to finish.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah. but you mentioned critics. So just real quick, overwhelmingly negative reviews by critics and fans. Mostly criticize the plot.
If you're watching
and its humor.
If you're watching a horror movie, specifically, I'm a big plot guy, obviously, but. We have our issues with the new Halloween series. We've talked about that. We don't need to get into it because mainly the plot is just bad.
It's
There's certain movies where it doesn't really matter as much, and this is one of them. It's kind of like,
and I don't think you go to a Friday the 13th movie expecting like a tremendous story.
Like Scorsese isn't directing this. Let's temper our expectations a little bit.
Like this is like a director literally nobody has ever heard of
and never will.
And he's only known for this, I'm pretty sure.
And is he really known for this?
That's like probably his only credit. Like you only know him when you turn on Jason Takes Manhattan and his name pops up and you're like, "Oh, that's the guy?" Okay.
Also, the opening song, it's a banger.
I thought that yesterday. I was grooving. It was
I was
good.
too. That song rules. I don't know what it is, but that song rips, man.
Yeah, I saw the title of it. I can't remember what it is offhand, but yeah, it's a good one. I was grooving to it last night. So, real quick, 11% on Rotten Tomatoes, 26% audience score, so slightly better with the audience.
Audience score is usually higher.
Yeah. Depending on what it is. If it's like one of the a fancy artsy movie, then usually sometimes it's the other way around. But in 2007, Entertainment Weekly named it the 8th worst sequel ever.
Saw that.
Leonard Maltin, though, gave it 2 out of 4 stars and called it the best in the series. Somehow, Leonard Maltin,
my guy, Leonard.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Whatever. Who would have thought Leonard Maltin?
Well,
the Maltin Minute.
It's funny you say that because
he's going to be pro.
In 2018, Scott Meslow of GQ wrote the film was one of the most stylish in the series, and that it actually had a pretty good. It was actually a pretty good sequel, despite the misleading title.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the things, and the advertising too. They advertised it like a lot of the trailers showed him pretty much exclusively in New York, and they're like, oh, that's gonna be cool. He's gonna be taking out a bunch of like street thugs and stuff, and then he doesn't.
He echoed what I've said a million times. It's like he liked the idea of Jason being on a boat and then in the city, totally out of
his element,
out of Crystal Lake.
He's had 6 movies where he's in the same location every single time.
And the fact
most of them are in a summer camp, too.
I think one of the more underrated parts of the movie is when he's actually in New York. Everybody just thinks he's just another normal, weird New Yorker.
They just like look at him like, who the hell are you? Not like, everybody. What is this guy carrying a machete for?
They just say, oh, that's just another weird guy in New York.
Yeah, of course there's a giant, like 6'4", 300-pound dude with a hockey mask, and he's just dripping wet constantly. That's just a normal dude in New York riding the subway.
Welcome to New York.
I wrote out the timeline, the series, and all the titles because I can never remember all of them.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that until researching this recently, they pumped out so many damn movies in such a short time. From 1980, the first one was in 1980. This one's 89, and this is the 8th movie. Yeah. So they released 8 movies from 80 to 89.
Basically one a year.
They took 2. They had 2 years off.
Yeah.
They didn't. No movie in 83 and nothing in 87.
And they were like all different directors, so that's why they're all just so different.
Yeah, just completely. They all look and feel different.
The only continuity from any of the movies is how one movie ends. They tie that together at the very beginning of the next movie, and that's it. Yeah,
they do like a previously on almost at the beginning of each movie.
Without actually saying, without actually going back. Like, they don't do the Rocky thing where they play the last fucking 15-minute scene.
They redo the same thing. Or like Back to the Future 2, where they just refilm
reshoot it with a new actress.
Yeah. Okay, so who's the guitar player in the beginning that dies?
JJ.
JJ? You think she was a Whitesnake fan?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, for sure.
JJ, she knows how to shred, man.
Yeah, she was shred. I was sad that she died. She was the first one.
First one. Well, not
the first one on the big boat.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I guess to repeat what I've said, I like that it's just different. Mm-hmm. I like when
we'll change of pace.
I like when they take it. I like when movies take a chance.
they take a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
In the big city of Manhattan.
Well, I will say,
you didn't get the irony of that.
Yeah.
He goes from
goes
from the outdoors into the big city for a breath of fresh air.
One thing I do appreciate about the movie too is the opening montage of the movie foreshadows the whole end of the movie.
Oh yeah. I didn't
because they introduce all the characters at the very end of the movie, but you don't know that.
Yeah, all those scenes they hit. Yeah,
the gang members, they mug that guy in the suit. First off, why is that guy? There's a guy in a suit just walking
down a dark alley
in like this very prominent business guy, a suitcase, business suit, everything, just walking down a dark alley by himself. Of course, I mean you're just literally asking to be mugged here, man. He gets mugged, gets his wallet stolen. They run and they throw this. Even they throw his wallet into this barrel full of acid, and there's this rat that comes out. Uh-huh. Did you notice
the rat is in the barrel later?
He's dead.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
It is good. I do appreciate that.
Yeah, I like that because it's like they just take you from the back alleys of boroughs or whatever to the subway, into the subway. Like they even show the diner, even the guys with the boombox. Like they show you everything.
Yeah,
I bet when you watched it for the first time, you just assumed it was just an opening montage.
Yeah, just B-roll.
And you didn't think any of those people were going to be in the movie.
Yeah, no, I just figured, they're just showing B-roll in New York because it's Jason Takes Manhattan. Let's show clips in Manhattan.
Yeah,
yeah. You don't expect all of those scenes to come back in later.
Right.
That is pretty good. Maybe better director he's probably a better director than he is a writer.
It's just the end wasn't great.
The end is rough. We got a whole section called head scratchers, and that's like a third of it. So, but we'll get into that here in a minute. you started to recap the plot,
Yeah.
and then I think I sidetracked you. Do you want
It's
to roll
okay.
through
That
that
happens
quick?
with us a lot. So
Yeah, that's kind of the name of the game here.
Yeah, I'll give a quick Spark Notes rundown of the movie.
Yeah, just so everybody's on the same page.
Yeah,
A little
so-
refresher.
Movie starts off with, obviously, Jason's buried underneath, in the lake.
Yep.
There's this boat. This couple's hooking up.
Yeah, we don't know anything about them. They're just random people.
Well, they're getting ready to get it on, obviously, as you do in these movies. And they anchor, and there just happens to be this like giant mega electrical cord right there in the bottom of the sea for no reason,
Right in the middle of the lake.
which the anchor gets caught on, and he rips it and explodes. Somehow doesn't electrocute anybody on the boat,
Yeah, no.
but the shock wave or the electricity wakes Jason up, gets on the boat, kills him. So somehow he takes that boat, and it just magically floats to.
Yep.
Okay, well it transitions.
Yeah, it's like the next day because that's at night. This is like the next
It
morning.
transitions to the next day. There's this big boat that looks like
It's big, like a small cruise ship.
it's supposed to be a
type of
cruise ship, but it looks like a fishing boat, like a giant fishing
Yeah.
line, like whatever. And these seniors being rewarded for a cruise, right? Jason climbs aboard.
So I did have a question about that. Does he like climb out of the smaller boat and then walk over like on the sea floor and then or the lake floor, I guess, and then walk up into the other boat? Because you see him climbing out of the water onto the ship.
I've always just assumed when you see the boat, you see the boat where the kids were killed.
Yeah.
And the deckhand's like just
yeah.
knew it was Jason. Obviously, I always just assumed when the boat just like hit the deck and nobody got suspicious about it.
Yeah.
He just got out and just swam because for some reason he's weirdly athletic in this movie.
Yeah, he's getting
Very athletic in this movie. So he boards the ship, kills a whole bunch of people except for the main characters.
Yeah, just kind of one by one, just kind of hacks away.
Except for all the characters have plot armor. They escape. They take a rowboat, float to Manhattan. Somehow Jason gets there at the exact same time.
Yeah.
Again, he just like he must have found a jet ski or something. I don't know, but he got there really quick, because it took them forever to get there from the rowboat.
Yeah, like it was a while. They have, I think, a couple of like fade to black moments, right? Like they fade to black right after they get into the boat, and then they're like floating for a little bit, and they're like, okay, another fade to black, and then we cut back again, and they're still in the boat.
Yeah.
So it's been a minute.
So they get to Manhattan, and he terrorizes them through Manhattan, and more killing happens, and then the end of the movie where they stop him in the sewer. And the main character, Rennie, is like battling her repressed memories of almost drowning throughout the whole movie, and she keeps seeing like
flashes of young Jason.
And somehow young Jason just like changes every time. He's like,
yeah, I noticed that. Why does he look different?
I made a note that when she's in her room by herself and he like comes through the mirror or whatever, he looks like a little Asian boy.
Yeah, why?
I don't know.
I noticed
it's
that last
so
night
weird.
too. Well, it's weird.
And then like one flashback, he has hair.
The other thing, I think they like reversed which eye is messed up.
Oh yeah, I think that's one. I was looking up like the goofs.
Yeah,
I think that was one of them.
Yeah, like somebody was looking at it like a reversed picture when they made the makeup, prosthetics or whatever.
But
so yeah, she's fighting all these flashbacks and everything.
I have a lot of continuity errors and plot holes that I wrote down.
Yeah, we got a whole list of those.
So obviously, like we said, the title is Jason Takes Manhattan. This is the first time you watch it. You've watched it twice now.
Yeah.
I would assume that you would assume he's going to be in Manhattan basically the whole movie, right?
Yeah. Definitely more than he was.
So he doesn't step foot on Manhattan soil until 1:04 into the movie.
Hour 4
1 hour 4 minutes into the movie, he doesn't step foot on Manhattan soil.
64% of the movie is not in Manhattan.
Yeah.
And if you include the credits as Manhattan also.
I mentioned earlier there's a floating boat. Nobody, when they're loading up on this cruise ship, nobody
happens to look up and say, hey, that boat just like slammed into the pier pretty hard. What's going on over there?
Nobody's
did you finish explaining? Because they get to Manhattan, and then Jason follows them very quickly thereafter. Somehow he just like walks there on the ocean floor.
He obviously had the portal from Rick and Morty. With
he
him.
He does teleport a lot in this movie, so maybe that's just it. He just like snapped his fingers and suddenly he was climbing out of the water.
He did the I Dream of Genie, like
nose
shake.
He wiggled his nose and bloop, and he appears there before shortly thereafter. Rennie gets kidnapped basically by two druggy hoods.
Yeah,
and then. Randomly, I guess there's 4 survivors, right? 4 survivors total.
Yes.
Or no, 5, right?
4.
Is there?
Sean.
I can't.
Oh yeah, 5. You're right.
Yeah, Sean, Rennie, the 2 teachers, and then Julius.
I have a hot take about Jason too. We can get into it later,
Okay.
but like it has to do with Julius.
Okay. So she gets taken. The rest like split up to try to find help or whatever. The hoods like give her some kind of drug. We don't know what it is. I assume it's heroin or something.
Heroin.
Which is like pretty bad heroin because she like is off that trip in like a couple of minutes.
Oh yeah.
She saw like a little she just seemed a little woozy.
Yeah.
She was like dizzy for a minute.
Yeah, maybe that's why they rob people because they can't afford good heroin.
So and then Jason shows up and saves her from the hoods. She runs away. Then he finds the rest of them basically and starts kind of picking off the survivors still. The last 2 are Rennie and her love interest guy.
Sean.
Sean.
We should mention
off-brand Ben Affleck.
And he's randomly the captain's son.
Yeah.
And a captain of a boat in charge of a lot of teenagers just wants to like give total command of a cruise ship to his son who has no experience, basically.
His son who just graduated high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just gonna give command to him
and
over his own class of high school seniors.
And then gets mad when he doesn't want to do it. It's like, would you?
He's also like obviously pretty bad at that. Like he's obviously not very good at this. Why would you hand him control and then be disappointed? How did you not know how bad he was at this?
Yeah. We should also mention Rennie, the main character Rennie, brings her dog Toby. For no reason.
Who also somehow survives this whole thing.
Luckiest dog I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. Lucky or just skilled? We don't know what he's doing when he's off screen for 98% of the movie.
I don't know, man, but she loses that dog 17 times throughout the movie. She loses him in Manhattan, and somehow at the end of the movie, Toby just tracks her down.
Yeah,
and it's just like
he's just been watching from a safe distance. I think.
He's
been following her just like 100 paces back.
Don't get me wrong. I'm Team Toby here. Like I'm glad he found his way back. Like because I would have been devastated if the dog died. When that gangster tried to shoot him, and Rennie saved him, I was like, you motherfucker.
Yeah, no.
So. I make fun of that stuff, but like I don't care. I don't really care.
Yeah, it's just one of those.
It's
like,
just funny to me.
Like, yeah, it's one of those things you laugh at. At the time, you might have like rolled your eyes at it, but it's funny to laugh at now.
Because I put my dogs in that situation. I'm like, my dog would just just fail. Sasha would be just barking.
Yeah.
And running.
And hoping that does something.
And then Akita would just be exploring and just jumping on everybody because everybody's her best friend. And
yeah, like, what's going on over here?
And they would 100% forget me.
Yeah. She's just like out there on the lam.
Yeah.
Making it on her own. Yeah, so it would basically be the same plot except she wouldn't show up at the last scene.
Correct.
Like she's in Massachusetts already. Like she hopped aboard the subway. She's making a life of her own. But anyway, so yeah, that's basically the plot. Except for they end up back in the 2 main people. They end up back in the subway. Jason tracks them down there, and then they go in the sewer.
You notice how they run down. That's one thing I drove me crazy. They run down the escalator into the subway, really fast, by the way, and they get in the subway at the back end.
Yeah.
Somehow Jason beat him, and he was way in the front of the subway.
Were they? Did they get in the back or did they get in the front and then he was in the back? Because The way I pictured it in my
No,
head.
because when he pulled the emergency brake, Jason fell forward, and that's where he fell towards where he came in from.
Yeah, he goes that way, which means they were moving toward the back. So he was in the front, chasing them toward the back.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah,
like I said, there's just a lot of teleportation in this movie.
Yeah. I mean, he does that. There's a couple that are like pretty clear cut. Suddenly he's just in a different spot.
JJ's
completely.
death is a big one.
Oh, yeah. That one's like obvious. And the other thing is he's so loud every other time that suddenly he's just silent when he moves.
Oh, yeah.
Every step he takes is gum, gum, gum. It's like, is he wearing concrete shoes? What's happening?
He was in stealth mode in this movie.
But if he's moving just quietly in between kills, he's so loud. Like his steps are booming until he's trying to kill somebody, and then suddenly he's floating.
Yeah. Speaking of the teleportation, the main, I guess, villain of the movie that's not Jason is he a principal or is he a teacher?
I think he's just a teacher.
Okay.
He just is the chaperone of this for some reason.
He's Rennie's uncle, guardian, because her parents died or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not even a minor plot. Like it's like a
it's
like an
exposition at some point.
It's like an E story of the movie.
Yeah, they just mention it once.
Yeah, and he's just like an overprotective dickhead the whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
So his death scene,
You're not my real dad.
his death scene's great. I love his death scene, but
it's pretty satisfying because he's such a dick the whole time.
He deserved that, and he's laying there. He sees Jason in front of him, and he's like, "It's not real, whatever." And he gets up and he runs, and he's running, and he keeps looking behind him, like he's behind him, and then he goes in that building up to the top, and Jason's already up there waiting for him.
He's suddenly up there.
Like
the way it looks, at least the way they shoot it, it looks like he runs about maybe 100 feet to that building.
Also,
and then suddenly Jason's on the second story already.
Everybody suffers from stupid babyface syndrome. Stop running into buildings and going to the top. There's nowhere to go once you're up there.
Yeah.
Just run straight.
Yeah, just run. Like we know that he doesn't move fast. He can teleport.
One thing I did appreciate when they got to Manhattan, like towards the end before they get to the diner.
Yeah.
They see Jason yet again, and they start running, and Rennie was like yelling. She's like, "Please help us!" And Sean was like, "Forget it, just go!" Like he was actually being smart.
He's smart. Like,
we just gotta book it.
These rando people are not gonna help you because he's gonna kill all of them too.
Just book it.
What are they gonna do? Yeah, just run. Don't even zigzag because he doesn't have a long range weapon.
Yeah.
So they go down on the subway. They find a subway worker. He says there's going to be toxic waste rushing through here. They're going to flood the sewers with it every day at midnight, which I don't know if that's a thing. Sounds like some comic book moment. But he tells them that. They're like, okay, we got to get out of here. Jason shows up. Teleports again. Somehow, like there's a loop in the or in the.
He took a shortcut
there's a tunnel,
through the tunnel. Yeah.
In the sewer system. Somehow there's like a circle. I don't know. Anyway, so he shows up. They get attacked. She finds some like toxic waste, I think, or toxic chemicals or whatever. Throws a bucket of it at Jason. His mask starts burning. His face is burning. He takes his mask off. We get unmasked Jason again. But again, he looks completely different.
And it's the goofiest motherfucker I've ever seen in my life.
That was a choice to make him look like that.
It looked like a third grader's styrofoam science project.
I read an article that said he looked like a PG-13 version of Boo Berry. And I thought that was perfect.
Oh, that's fantastic.
That is hilarious, yeah. But anyway, so yeah, unmasked Jason. He's like, he starts yelling. He sounds like a dinosaur. It's weird.
Yeah. He moans
like his face is weird.
He moans like they're like torturing an alien.
Yeah, I don't.
Very weird.
It's a very odd choice. And then he's like disoriented. He's chasing him down, and then lo and behold, here comes the toxic waste flood that comes in. It hits him. He's like, oh no.
I don't actually. Does he? He just like disappears. Like
yeah,
it's just like a little boy then.
Yeah, that's the weird part that I don't understand.
I know they're trying to play into the Rennie when she was like, they had like a random flashback because her uncle pushed her in the water to make her swim, and it was in Camp Crystal Lake, and apparently Jason pulled her down.
But I think that was imagined, right? Because like he wouldn't have been a little boy at that point.
Right.
He would have been like 40.
Yeah.
So I think that's just like her imagination.
Yeah.
Imagination, because she's afraid of Jason, because she heard the stories. Her guardian guy, this dickhead, tells her before he throws her in the water, this girl who can't swim.
And it was just like, well, come on.
Yeah,
swim.
swim, Rennie. That's the plan? Really? Just yell at her to swim?
He reminded me of like in Little League when you'd be batting and you would just like take a pitch and it would be a strike, and you just hear the one random parent from 3 miles down the left field line, and they're like, "You gotta swing the bat, eye to the ball, bat to the ball."
Can't hit if you don't swing.
Okay, well, let me just swing at everything, I guess. Is that like your sound advice?
And you swing and miss on the next one. Keep your eye on the ball there, champ. What? Come on.
No, I figured I would just look at the umpire the whole time.
Oh, you mean don't look up?
Am I batting the right way? Should I like turn towards the umpire? Like, do I hit the catcher?
So close my eyes next time. Okay.
That's what that reminded me of.
Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah, perfect advice. Swim, Rennie. What?
Come on.
Just literally no useful pointers at all. So, and then, he just like transforms into little Jason again at the end after the toxic waste comes in. He like dissolves in the toxic waste, which makes sense. And then I figured he was just going to be disappeared, but then there's just like a little baby Jason, not a baby, a child Jason just curled up. And it's just like, is she imagining that? They're not clear. Is she imagining that? Does he see it too? Because Sean's also there. They're like about to escape, but they get stuck, and then Jason gets washed away. But then there's just a child there. They don't explain it very well. So and then that's basically the end. They just they look around New York, and So let's get into our little subdivisions here, our little topics we wanted to talk about. So I wanted to call this one, this is a reference to, there's this guy that I used to work with. I was a team leader at this, the company we still work for, actually. And this guy that was like a kind of a half subordinate, he would come up, and anytime he'd have an issue, he would say, he'd come up and say, I have this thing, or I'm supposed to have this thing, but computer says, he was kind of a weird dude. Kind of like me, where he would stumble over all the words he says, but he would say, computer says we're supposed to have 10, but I only count 5. But computer says, and I just liked that line. I liked that he would always say computer says. So this is computer says, where it's basically just like things I found online, little fun facts and stuff. So Jason in this one, he's played by Kane Hodder, second of 4 total appearances in the series.
He's the best. He's the best Jason.
Probably. Yeah, is he the biggest guy?
Yeah,
he's
like
the biggest one.
Huge,
he's
man.
pretty big, dude.
Yeah. He's also the most, well-known one too.
Yeah, I think so. He was probably the only one that had 4 appearances, or like did it 4 times, right?
Yeah.
So Jensen Daggett, she plays the lead character Rennie Wickham. She was also Nancy Taylor in Home Improvement.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up.
She's also in Major League Back to the Minors.
Yep.
Which I've also never seen because I hear it's terrible.
It's awesome.
And supposedly she beat out Elizabeth Berkley and Pamela Anderson for that role. I can't imagine really either of them in this, although this was before Elizabeth Berkley was anything. Anyway, so to conceal the film, you know how sometimes they use like a working title? The working title for this one was Ashes to Ashes, if that's anything to you. Kane Hodder, who played Jason, as I mentioned, he recalled while filming in Times Square, there were like all kinds of fans watching. A fan fainted after he pointed at her between takes. So that was a fun thing.
From what I read, he never unmasked because he wanted to keep the mystique,
maintain the illusion.
He was in kayfabe mode.
Yeah. Yeah. So apparently the creative team for Scream 6 studied this movie because that one was also set in New York. So they wanted to kind of capture some of that. And the diner waitress at the end, she's played by Peggy Hedden, the sister of the director. So she was a Nepo baby, even though she's like 35.
I read that the director years later, he did regret how little they're actually in Manhattan, but he did mention that it was because of budget
cuts, yeah.
Budget and just the scheduling just wouldn't work out. being
Yeah,
in
'cause
Times Square.
That's pretty big. Yeah, it's a
So they got what
it's
they
a tough
could.
thing to do is
Yeah.
film in New York.
So, I mean, that's understandable. I wish.
Yeah, for a $5 million budget on the 8th in a
Yeah.
horror slasher series, like you're not going to have the budget to film that many scenes in New York. Apparently, they had basically two different ideas: one where he's on a cruise ship, and one where he's in a big city. They wanted to do the city one, but they're like, well, let's split the difference so we don't have to spend as much money. So that's what they kind of ended up with. They ended up with doing both, and yeah, and then the subtitle ended up being really misleading, and that's what pissed everybody off. But anyway, I have some nitpicks, which are a little bit different. I also have a big chunk of plot holes, but like I mentioned, it was released in July 28th, but there was a Friday the 13th in 1989, just saying, and it was in October. There's not a more perfect day to release Friday the 13th than that. Come on. It's a no-brainer. Anyway, the cruise ship, the name of it is the Lazarus. Lazarus is a character from the Bible. He was brought back to life by Jesus. It's just a little on the nose. Mm-hmm. That's all I got to say.
I got one. I got a nitpick.
Go ahead.
So in the tunnel, the sewer workers like, yeah, every midnight it floods out every midnight, right?
Yeah.
So it floods out. Obviously, that's midnight. Well, then at the end of the movie, it's daylight.
Is it daylight when they come out of the sewer?
Yeah.
That's funny.
So
that's a good catch.
Unless they're at like the North Pole or Alaska.
Yeah, where they only have like 6 hours of night. Maybe they were just like stuck under that grate for that long. Maybe there was like 6 hours they were stuck under there. That's a good one. I never noticed that one. I also have a section here. I kind of threw this one out at you. I had a few that didn't really fit the plot hole section, so I labeled them as head scratchers, which is basically just questions I had that probably don't have answers. Okay, so first one, skeet shooting on a cruise ship. Is that a thing?
I was going to bring that up when we were watching it, but again, I was like, no, we got to save this.
Save it.
But I was like, that seems very unsafe.
It seems weird, right?
Very unsafe. But it is the 80s.
I just realized they use guns later in the thing. Is that from the skeet shooting?
Yeah.
For some reason, I just assumed they had guns on board for no reason.
Yeah.
It's like, just in case they need to like hunt a moose or something while they're...
That's what Julius used when he cocked it, and it was the largest or the loudest like gun cock I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, they had the microphone directly on the gun when he cocks it. How do you think Stephen King reacted to his name being dropped in the middle of this movie for no reason?
Yeah, supposedly he used his pen.
Yeah, this was the pen he used in high school. What? Why? Do you think he just? You think he was sitting in the theater at Jason Takes Manhattan? Like, wait a minute. Oh, that's Stephen with a V is what it was. I already mentioned, why give control of the ship to his son when he's obviously not very good at it. Also, the scene in like the party room, the like disco room, where the one girl comes in and he just chokes her to death. Why are there two of them? Why are there two Jasons?
What?
There's Jason here. She turns like 90 degrees, and there's a second Jason. Or at least it looks like there's a second Jason.
Yeah.
And he's definitely in a different part of the room.
Yeah.
And then she turns back to the other spot. He's gone. And she turns back again, and he's still in the first spot.
My nitpick...
Why are there two Jasons?
My nitpick with that scene is, why is the music still playing when she runs into the room?
Yeah. It's like they were having a party, and then it got interrupted by the fire alarm or something.
Which
I don't know.
I would assume protocol that would have shut any music off. It would have overridden anything.
Yeah, I don't know. It was the 80s. Maybe they didn't have that complicated a technology.
But I would
maybe it was just like a boombox on the wall or something.
But I mean, it was a while before, like after
weren't the lights going too? Everything was going.
Everything was going. Like, why is everything still on? And okay, why did she just like forgot how to human?
Yeah, she runs in there and gets completely disoriented, and it's just a circular room.
And it's not that disorienting. There's just
no.
I'm like, did you just forget how to like walk?
Yeah, there's like 8 doors. Apparently all of them are locked. But she didn't know that until afterwards. She comes in and just immediately gets disoriented. And that's when she sees 2 Jasons. It's so weird.
Yeah.
And I thought, maybe she's just seeing one in like a mirror or something. And then she goes back to the same spot where she saw the second one, and there's no mirror there. It's just a wall.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what is happening here?
Yeah.
It was very weird.
So, a couple others I have.
Mm-hmm.
The 5 that survived the cruise ship, they take a lifeboat into Manhattan.
Yeah.
One of the plots of the movie, of the cruise, is like, there's a big storm coming. This is like storm of the century. This is a really bad storm. We're not prepared for it. Somehow this tiny little rowboat with 5 people survives this storm.
Yeah, maybe they'd gotten through the worst of it, I guess, by then, because the storm's already hitting early, like while they're on the ship.
Okay, but if it's a storm of the century, it's not just going to last 5 minutes.
Did they say storm of the century, or did they just say, it's a pretty bad one?
Not storm of the century, but usually when it's a bad storm, it doesn't, especially on the water, it's always a lot worse than on land.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because you got the waves and everything.
I did kind of question that, but I don't know. That is a good one.
So I've told you, my favorite character in the movie is Julius.
Yeah.
And Julius he's a boxer on this movie, the only black guy in the movie. Got to have one, I guess, in the 80s, right? But didn't follow typical 80s stereotypes where he died right away.
Yeah, no, he
lasted
a pretty good time.
And his death scene's pretty great. I mean,
it's probably the most memorable of the movie.
Because he did not go down without a fight, and
he literally went down swinging.
All the respect to Julius, man. He didn't,
I also have another head scratcher regarding Julius. They're in the lifeboat. He got thrown off the ship earlier.
Yeah.
He survived. He jumps out of the water into the lifeboat. This guy almost drowned. Everybody else is like basically fine. Why does he end up being the one that has to row into Manhattan?
You know how long he was in the water? Like, his arms are obviously tired.
Yeah.
All right. That leads me to my hot take.
Go ahead.
Jason, little racist.
Okay.
Because on the cruise ship, he kills all the white people. He finds a very creative way to kill them. Julius, he just throws off the ship because I think that he thinks or just assumes because he's black can't swim. Jason, little racist.
He was reading into the stereotype a little too much.
Jason just assumed Julius couldn't swim. Because of his skin color, and that's why he's like, I don't have time for this. I'm just gonna throw you off the boat. That's an easy death.
Yeah,
didn't expect
that's
him.
an easy one.
And that's what made his death scene. Even though he died, I was sad when he died, but that's what made his death scene so satisfying. Because that motherfucker,
yeah,
he laid it all on the line.
Absolutely. And Jason was like, "Oh, you're not coming back from this one."
What I like and then what I like about it is like his death scene. Jason chased him to the top of this building, right?
Again, he goes up instead of straight.
Yeah. And Julius is like, screw this. I'm fighting Jason. I'm not running anymore.
And we see earlier, he's undefeated. He's an undefeated boxing champ.
Yeah. This guy, bare knuckle boxes, this guy is punching him in the plastic mask. And like, I mean, he's getting some solid punches in.
Yeah.
And he didn't scream. He didn't beg for his life. He's just like, he accepted his fate at that point.
He knew, well, I gave this guy everything I have, even some body blows.
Oh, those are some tough body blows too.
Yeah. And then he's like, well, I'm out of it. He's going to take me down anyway.
Here's the thing though. Nitpick.
Yeah.
He's this undefeated boxer, crazy good athlete, somehow survived in the water that long to go on a cruise. He lasted what?
He got winded pretty quick.
He lasted 10 seconds fighting Jason. Like Jason didn't even play defense.
To be fair, he was like treading water, keeping up with that ship for however long he was out there. He was already pretty winded.
That's a good point.
And he just had spent however long running from Jason
and he climbed up the building. That's fair. I can accept that.
He probably could have lasted a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But he was giving him like everything he had.
Oh, he gave him everything.
It was very I wrote down it was kind of like Rocky versus Clubber, the second fight where he just tires him out the whole time. He just takes all the hits and he's like, "You ain't so bad." I was waiting for Jason to reach out. "You ain't so bad."
And I love it because Julius was like, I gave this guy everything I could.
Yeah, he just accepted.
And he's like, take your best shot, motherfucker. And Jason just grabs him, punches his head off.
Yeah, literally just
Perfectly.
a nice clean cut.
Nice clean cut.
Nice clean break. And then, he gets 2 points because the head goes right into a dumpster.
And
the lid falls down. So, yeah, perfect. Nice 2-pointer from Jason. Again, he's pretty athletic in this movie. He's playing all kinds of sports. So, we mentioned this earlier when she has the flashback and she realizes that her father figure guy, the guardian dude, he throws her in the water, and that's why she's traumatized and doesn't want to swim, or afraid of swimming. And then she sees young Jason like pulling her down. That she imagined that, right? Like that was her like fear or whatever.
Yeah.
She just pictured that.
Because before he shoves her in the water, he's like, this is where
he tells
Jason
her the
died.
story.
Jason's down there. Jason's down there.
He's gonna get you.
She's like, you're lying, and then he pushes her in because he's
just
the worst human being on the planet. Like,
terrible. He's sadistic.
Yeah.
Oh, and also just real quick one. As they're leaving the subway station, there's a guy we pointed out. He's wearing like an overcoat and no pants. What's going on with that guy? Is that just welcome to New York? Just guy with no pants for some reason.
Oh, another thing I need to mention too is another underrated theme of this movie is Jason, not a big fan of doors.
Oh yeah.
Every door doesn't open, just smash
through.
There's a couple he opens like on the cruise ship, but when he's not in stealth mode anymore, doors, no. They're just in his way at that point.
The subway door, it's a fully glass door.
Yeah.
My thought, maybe he didn't know it was a door. If you spend your entire life in the woods around Crystal Lake, you might not know what a glass door is.
True.
He's used to all wood doors at the camp.
Yeah.
Maybe he just didn't see it.
That's
they
fair.
Windexed it too hard.
That's fair.
Just like, screw this. Crashes straight through it.
Yeah.
Oh, he punches through the bathroom door earlier, too, when he kills
He's
the
so
one lady.
aggressive in this movie, and I love it. Like, he's just, not only does he hate the kids he's killing, he just hates everything around him.
Yeah,
like, he
he's
hates
very angry.
every single
You
item.
woke me up from my nap.
He's like, I am not getting buried at the bottom of a lake this time.
Yeah.
So I am uber aggressive in this movie.
You're not gonna get
Like,
me.
when he kills Tamara.
Yeah.
He grabs her through the door. Again, door. He just punches through the door.
Yeah.
Grabs her, shoves her, and she hits her face on the mirror, and whatever. He just walks in and just punches.
Super aggro, just punches the mirror.
Just for no reason. Obviously he got a shard.
He grabs the shard.
But it was already broken.
It was already broken. He could have just grabbed a shard and gone to town.
But he was like, no, screw this. I'm punching the mirror as hard as I can. I mean, this was like awesome. It was an awesome punch.
He fully punches.
Yeah, and Jason just super athletic, super aggressive, super teleportive. He was everything. He was heat checking in this movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was
heat check from Jason.
He was cooking for sure.
Okay. Do you want to hit some plot holes here?
Yeah.
We mentioned a handful of them, but I guess this is also just kind of a quick question. So he's reanimated, right? He was dead. And then he gets electrified, brings him back to life. Is he like a zombie Jason?
That's what bugs me about the end of this movie, because he's been at the bottom of the lake how long?
Yeah.
Whatever, right? And he's just like this subhuman thing that can take on anything. And his kryptonite is like toxic waste from a sewer?
Yeah. I assume it's like acidic or something, and it just melts his skin or whatever. Somehow, I don't know, because, I don't know. I guess I don't really know what toxic. I guess if it's radioactive, maybe it just like burns through him or something. I don't know. I didn't understand that. I think it's a fictional substance, so we can't really break down the science of that one.
Also, so like,
does he breathe? That was my question, because he's breathing a lot in this movie. If he's reanimated and he's a zombie, does he need to breathe?
I think he's just something we're not supposed to understand.
Okay.
Let's just go with that.
All right. Because he breathes a lot. You hear him earlier when he's like in the mask, and it's like, why is he breathing?
I think the more you try to understand Jason or the anatomy of Jason, it's just it just doesn't matter.
And in that final scene right before he dies, randomly he reverts back to child Jason again when he talks. He has like his child voice. He's like, "Don't let me drown, mama."
Yeah.
And then he just like starts puking up water.
Right. Yeah. And that's like way before the
water comes. He's just like, that was just already in his lungs. So has he been breathing water this whole time?
Maybe he's just like a fish.
Maybe. So where does the sound come from when he's breathing in the mask?
I don't know. I told you, stop trying to understand Jason. He's just something that exists in his own little dimension.
Okay. All right.
Okay, one thing I had, there was a lot that happened in this movie. And somehow it was only midnight.
Yeah, we should break down the time. Because by the time they get to...
Because I would assume they're probably loading onto the boat probably, 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock,
Yeah,
6
and this
o'clock.
is after graduation, so it's probably like June, late May at the latest, right?
Yeah. And somehow it's like cold.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
It's
I mean,
like-
it is New England. Maybe it's like a little chilly. I
Yeah.
don't know. It seems a lot cold. It seems like it might be more like March or April than May, but whatever. A lot of stuff does happen because it's dark when they're still on the cruise ship, and then they have to paddle all the way to New York,
And
then
it's dark.
it's still only midnight.
Yeah. And then, like I said, they...
And then suddenly we snap your fingers and it's daylight again.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe their clocks are different. So Rennie is this teacher guy is Rennie's legal guardian.
Correct.
But she shows up to the ship with a random teacher, like a teacher she likes. Why does she bring her and not her legal guardian that she lives with?
Well, I would assume because he didn't want her on the ship. I guess my headcanon was he basically said, "You're not coming," and he left without her. And she had such a good relationship with that
She
teacher.
just like rang her up.
And was like, "Hey,
Oh,
I want to
okay.
go." And she's like, "Okay, I'll come pick you up."
He does say that she's late. Maybe that's what she had to like reroute. She had to go pick her up.
Pick her up. And she's
Okay,
like,
that makes sense.
"You shouldn't have brought her here."
That makes sense. I can get down with that. Oh, here's one. McCulloch. He sees Jason when they're getting into the lifeboat. Jason is standing on the ship looking
I was
down
gonna
at
bring
them.
this up.
Like full, like clear, plain as day. He's standing up there. Sean sees him when he's climbing down. Like they should all be able to see him. And then later, before he dies, he's like surprised that Jason is there. He's like, "No, there's no way. It's you."
Before that scene too, when Rennie escapes the gangsters,
Yeah.
and she reunites with Sean, and then they all meet back up.
Mm-hmm.
Sean was like, "It's Jason." Rennie said she saw her, and he's like, "Enough about Jason."
Oh,
Jason.
yeah.
He but I guess again in my headcanon, I assume because it's downpouring, I assume
Maybe he just sees a silhouette of somebody.
I just assume from his angle, he sees Sean, he sees the rain coming down, or he's got the rain coming down in his face, and there's a light, and it's just maybe he's just blinded. He just assumes it's somebody else other than Jason.
Yeah. And he is quick to blame that deckhand. He thinks that guy's murdering. He's like, maybe he just assumes it's just some guy pretending to be Jason
Although I will say,
rather than actually him.
I gotta give him credit. He is pretty smart in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple times where I'm like, he's thinking.
Yeah.
So when Jason, he punches the fire alarm,
Yeah. Fire safety Jason.
fire safety
He
Jason,
just wants to warn everybody, hey, the engine's on fire.
and everybody's like, "Oh, there must be a fire. It must be a fire." He's the first one who's like, "Don't you think
He's
he's
just creating a
panic and
Yeah.
to get us all in one spot?" I'm like, "Oh my god, he's smart."
Yeah, that is pretty smart.
And then there's the scene where Rennie goes to like drop the anchor.
yeah, and he's like, well, I mean, he's an asshole about it, but yeah, he is right.
How much
Why
sense
would
it-
you drop an anchor in a storm?
In a storm. Yeah.
Another reason why Sean is just a dumbass and should not have been running that ship.
No.
Why? I don't understand. Maybe Dad's a bad captain too. Maybe he's bad at his job. If he thinks his 18-year-old son could run this ship for some reason, I don't know. Like, haven't you spent any time with him? Because he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing.
Yeah.
We put it out when we were watching. I wanted to bring up this guy again. What the hell's his name? Oh, Wayne, who looks like young Matt Damon in a wig.
Yeah.
He has these big thick glasses. He loses his glasses. He's by himself. He's got a gun, one of the skeet shooting guns. He's down in like the engine room where JJ got hit with the guitar earlier, who he was like buddies with. So he loses his glasses, and now he's using the camera to like see where he's going, and he sees some dude Just random guy shows up and he just immediately fires his gun.
Well,
obviously this isn't somebody that's friendly. There's one bad guy on this boat and like 9 people I shouldn't shoot with a gun. I should probably just fire as soon as I see somebody.
In Wayne's defense, he's an 18-year-old kid, scared shitless with no glasses.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
The other guy was an adult. He should have been like, made himself clear before, like you know he saw him from afar, and he was like, "Wayne, it's me."
Yeah. In his defense, he wasn't getting paid enough to have any speaking lines in this movie. So we see that guy earlier too.
Him and Sean's friend.
Yeah.
Sean's friend just has to hold that box, and then he gets killed. He had a pretty good death.
Yeah,
too.
he gets like forked on like the radio tower.
Yet again, another teleportation moment. Like he climbs. Jason's just standing on the deck at the front of the boat. This guy, for no reason, just climbs the tower, like the mast tower.
This guy can't. He's giant. He's not going to be able to climb faster
all the way
than
to
me.
the top, and like Jason's nowhere to be found. And as soon as he gets to the top, all of a sudden Jason's just there, throws him off, forks him.
And they cut back to him too. That's the thing. Like if they had just shown him climbing the thing, and then suddenly, okay, that makes sense. He just climbs fast. They cut back. He climbs up. He's probably 20 feet in the air. They cut back. Jason's still on the deck, and a second and a half later, Jason's grabbing him from behind. What? He was like those guys on like those like lumberjack competitions. You remember those? Yeah. Where they like climb a tree with like a rope.
Oh yeah.
That's what I think. That's because he spent that time in the woods. Maybe he got good at that. He's got those like tethers hanging off of his jacket. Maybe
I'm
just
telling you,
use one of those.
This is MJ Jason.
Yeah.
Like
this is peak. This was his flu game.
Jason was so clutch in this movie.
Okay. Oh yeah, and then I guess we mentioned that. How does he get from the boat to the dock? I see. What I imagine in my head is he gets in the water, and like we said, he's got water in his lungs. He's mostly water at this point. He just sinks to the bottom and just like walks across the ocean floor, and that's why he gets there so fast. He's not swimming. He's just walking because he's spent so much time in the water. He's basically like a fish.
Have you ever tried to walk underwater? It takes you forever.
Have you ever tried to punch somebody's head off? He's pretty strong. He could just walk. He's just like, fuck this water. I'm just going.
Touche.
A clean break too. Anyway, so one of our categories here was overacting moments. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of them.
I had a couple specifics, just 2 specifics as it.
My only thing I wrote was every time Sean tries to be serious. Whenever he's like tries to be stern with the teacher guy.
Stay away from her.
Yeah, stay away from her. It's so bad. Whenever he tries to raise his voice.
I have in the opening scene with Susie and Jim, the couple that gets killed. He's like, Jason used to, he drowned. He tells the story, and she gets scared, and then he's got to drop the anchor, and she's like scared because he won't come back in. She's like, it's not funny anymore, and all of a sudden you see it pans over, and it's this guy in Jason mask and with a knife, and he goes to stab her, and it's a fake knife, and it's Jim playing a prank on her. Mm-hmm. Well, when he stabs her, her reaction was so weird because she like throws her head back. She's like, ah. Before she realizes it, and it's like, even if like that's a weird reaction, why would you throw your head back?
Yeah, it's like, I guess it's like a hard thing to act. Act like you think you're about to get stabbed, but then you don't actually get stabbed, but also you can't move because we have to get the shot of you taking the knife to the chest.
That's
so
fine.
You can't move at all. It's just like a weird thing to act.
That's fine, but like I mainly wrote it down because of the head thing.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. It's like you got to be animated because you're about to get stabbed and you're afraid, but you can't move at all. That's the only body part you can move. It's just like a weird blocking moment. Like you can't. It's a hard one. I'm gonna give her a pass on that one because that's a tough thing to act, I think.
Fair. And then the only other one I had. So there's this deckhand. There's this ship deckhand who's responsible for cleaning the boat and basically
Yeah. He's like Crazy Ralph from the first one. They just like cycle that one back.
Yeah, he's the crazy guy who knows all about Jason. He knew Jason was on the boat before.
The ship is doomed.
Every scene of his was totally over, especially his death.
Oh yeah. when he's just like waving the knife around, and then he just dramatically falls down
with an axe on his back.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Fantastically overacted death. Like
exactly what you want from an
100%,
overact.
Yeah.
Any other overacting moments?
No.
Okay, so I get.
You know what? I think Toby really phones it in sometimes.
Toby the dog. He does run out of her cabin pretty aggressively. Also, that was another thing I didn't understand. Does the dog also see her visions somehow? Are they telepathically connected?
So I have no way to prove it, but again, was that actually Jason looking through the window? But she saw young
She just saw baby Jason,
and that's why the dog was growling.
That could be. Because he is looking at the window.
That's the only thing that makes sense to me.
That does make sense.
Because later...
It's weird that he wouldn't attack her, though, in that moment.
Well, she's from afar when she sees him. She's like...
Maybe she's in the room.
Yeah, but that's not where the door is. I mean, I get what you're saying.
Well, because he crashes through the window later, doesn't he?
The same window.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
Maybe he didn't see her because she was farther away, or what?
Well, I think maybe because she was farther away, he just kind of like waited on her.
Oh, I'll get her later.
Yeah.
Too much work.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
I got you, yeah. Yeah, maybe they're just like, how dogs can like sense things from their owner. Maybe,
yeah.
Or maybe Toby was like, oh, she's freaked out. I'm going to like get the fuck out of here. Okay, so we can probably run through these pretty quick. These are eye roll worthy moments. We both laughed when we watched it earlier today. Early on in the first scene where he kills the two people on the smaller boat, he like shoots this like
it's like a harpoon
like frog gigging gun or whatever you call it, and it sticks in the wall. He misses. Bad shot, Jason. He was a little rusty.
I think he did that on purpose. It looked very
just to scare him or something.
Yeah, it looked intentional.
Yeah, okay, maybe he's just messing with him a little bit. He pulls the thing out of the wall. And it makes this weird, inexplicable noise. It sounds like somebody cracking a whip. It's like, whoosh.
And all he's doing is pulling out of like really thin wood paneling.
Yeah, like the shitty like paneling that you'd find in a cabin of a yacht or whatever.
My eye roll moment of that scene is when he stabs Jim and like pulls out his like test tube intestines.
See, I don't think that's his intestines. I thought that yesterday. That's already on the gun. When he pulls it off the wall. I think it's like a pneumatic kind of gun.
Oh.
So those tubes are already there. It is really weird because they're covered in blood after he pulls it out of him. And I was like, is that supposed to be his intestines? They look really stupid.
You're right.
And but then when I watched it again this morning, I noticed that it's already on there when he shoots it the first time. It's just, I think it's like pneumatic tubes or whatever to power the gun.
Yeah.
So still in that scene, I love the way to avoid, or the way they attempt to avoid getting killed by Jason is to just yell no like 472 times, and they just hope that's going to work.
Well, I like how Susie hid in like the
little storage
compartment.
Yeah. Again, just like dive in the water and swim to safety or something.
Yeah.
I mean, I get hiding. Like that's like, I don't know, it's kind of smart. Like what the fuck do you do when this giant is coming after you? But then, like, he opens the thing, and instead of, like, trying to get out of the thing or doing anything, trying to fight back, he just very, very slowly reaches down with the little poker thingy and stabs her. But she just, like, is yelling, no, like 47 times. Yeah. Why? Is that your only method? Okay. And then they do it again. Tamara, the promiscuous one, she does the same thing when he's in the bathroom after he punches the mirror. He has this like mirror shard and he's like about to stab her and she just yells no 187 times.
Well, even McCullough did it when
yeah. He's like no. Well, he was pleading a little bit. He didn't just yell no. He was like please. And then I rolled at Toby finding them at the end somehow.
Oh yeah.
After like 6 hours of being gone.
Just in New York by himself, just somehow knew exactly where they'd be.
Yeah, somehow. Like they rode the subway at one point.
Maybe
at least multiple stops. And we're in the sewer. Like how did he end up somehow at the same spot?
Maybe he's just Mission Impossible dog. And he's just Tom Cruise and has an earpiece and he just knows where their location is at all times.
Yeah. He's got a GPS.
That's gonna be my hit. That's what I'm going.
Okay.
Mission Impossible Dog Protocol.
That's pretty good. So this one we were trying to wedge this category into our other show, and then it didn't really fit. So I figured it fits more with this. So this is the Stephen Kwan Out of Left Field Award for the most unexpected moment or line of dialogue? Did you have any nominees?
We brought it up earlier. I had when she's looking, she has all these different visions of young Jason, and they are all different. But the one where it was just totally out of nowhere, where she's in the bathroom, and he like pops out of the mirror, but it looks like a little Asian boy.
Yeah, it's suddenly just a completely different kid. It's really weird.
Very strange.
It's definitely out of left field. So, it's the promiscuous girl, the Tamara, because she's like a bully or whatever, and she's trying to get back at Rennie
because they're doing cocaine, and Rennie discovers it, but she's just looking for her dog again, and they think she's gonna.
They think she rats on them, and she's like, "Well, I'll get back at her. Let me traumatize her because I know that she's afraid of water. She can't swim. Let me very obviously just hip check her into the ocean." What?
It was an accident, I swear.
I completely did not see that coming. I thought it was going to be, I don't know, something. I didn't know what was going to happen. I figured it was something water related, but just to shove her into the ocean.
And the best part.
What?
The best part, they find, they save her. Sean jumps in. By the way, he jumps in, doesn't really do a great job of saving her. He took forever. If you're going to do that, you got to know what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
And they pull her up, get her on the ship, and she's laying there with the teacher. And the first thing out of this teacher's mouth isn't are you okay? Or let's get you dried up or anything. Her first thing is just keep her outside where it's raining. And her first line of dialogue after that is, "You care to talk about it?"
Yeah, she becomes a talk therapist somehow. I don't understand that one.
Bad time to talk about her feelings now.
This 18-year-old kid dives into the water to save her, pulls her out, and he's also soaking wet. And she's like, "Go grab some towels."
Yeah.
This guy didn't do enough. He just saved her life. He's got to go fetch the towels too.
I got another out of left field moment.
Uh-huh.
When they're in Manhattan and they're in the police car and the police car blows up, and then that's how the female teacher dies.
Mm-hmm. Which
I kind of like because they had enough respect for her to she got an accidental death. She didn't get killed by Jason. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not explaining that very well. But anyways, doesn't matter. Car blows up. She loses her, basically her mother figure.
Mm-hmm.
And she just stares at this random puddle that's on fire.
Yeah.
And then somehow that was the time where she remembered this repressed memory. Also, kind of a bad time to have a repressed memory when Jason's still right there, not dead.
Yeah. They do a lot of the classic horror movie trope of just assuming he's dead, even though he's not.
5 different times.
It's very likely that he may not be, I guess. He's definitely not clearly dead.
Correct.
He's not definitely dead. And they're just he's probably dead.
It's over. When they say it's over, it's oh, well, you're in for something.
Finally. But also, we never talked about this. I guess this could be the Stephen Kwan out of left field award, too. What is with the opening monologue? It's just some random voiceover about New York, kind of. It's just
I don't know if
city life.
I don't.
Something.
I don't know if it's trying to explain. It's trying to compare New York to Jason. It just didn't.
It was weird, and I was expecting. Maybe that was a character in the movie.
Well, I think
it was going to be, this is a famous, a line of poetry or something from somebody or a famous quote. But no, it's just random random monologue from somebody.
I don't know if they're trying to compare the grunginess of New York City to Jason's character and how they're one and the same and, they're about to mix. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It didn't really.
I feel like maybe that was kind of a trope of 80s sci-fi action movies.
Yeah.
So they just kind of wanted to have this kind of semi-serious dialogue or monologue thing in the beginning. It's kind of similar to Escape from New York. Yeah. Where they have the monologue in the beginning.
But see, that explains what's going on in the movie.
That is relevant, yeah. And it also kind of reminds me of The Warriors. You ever watch that?
Yeah, we've talked about that before. Remember we made fun of the baseball gang?
Oh, yeah. But how they have the radio DJ talking over a lot of the scenes. That's what it kind of reminded me of. And then it cuts to in the first scene with the yacht. they're listening to the radio. They're listening to like rock radio or whatever, and they mention the
senior trip.
The senior trip. So I just maybe it's like him. Maybe he was talking about New York and just having a moment.
Maybe that was part of the broadcast. Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
but it's just like I don't know. It's really weird and inexplicable. They don't address it again. It's just like what is this? Oh, I liked the the like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles slime barrel that McCullough gets drowned in with the rat. Is that an actual thing that's just like around New York in 1989? There were just random barrels
of acid
of green slime.
Yeah.
That rats are drowning in somehow. How did the rat get up in there too? That's what I want to know. How did he fall off the building or something and dive into there?
Yeah.
So best deaths
and best, the one-liners.
Ooh, I forgot about one-liners. Yeah. Which one do you want to do first?
Let's do one-liners.
Okay.
Obviously the deaths in a slasher got to be the main event.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, give me some one-liners. We mentioned a lot of them already.
So all right, this is when the captain gets killed and the admiral they get killed, and that's when everybody on the ship realizes, oh shit, there's a killer on the boat.
Yeah.
Right? They're all coming up with the plan, and Julius is like taking the lead, and McCullough, he's the chaperone, and he's like, young man. He says young man and young lady a lot, and it bugs me. It's like, okay, stop. He's like, young man, you're not in charge. And he's like,
I'm in charge.
I'm in charge. And Julius is like, school's out, McCullough. And they all just follow Julius out.
It's a long pause too, and he like takes a couple of steps too. It's like, I want to make this moment count. This is my big moment where I stand up to the authority. School is out, McCullough.
Dude, Julius made every scene was fantastic.
Yeah, he was batting 1,000 in this movie.
So there's also my other one. There's a scene where they get off the subway. And again, that's another time they think.
Yeah, they think Jason's dead.
dead.
He gets electrocuted from the subway.
And they turn around, they see him just standing there, stalking them. And they start running. They run past this gang. Or not this gang. This is punk group.
Yeah.
And they're listening to a big 80s boombox on the sidewalk, right?
Yeah.
And Jason starts just speed walking. He's mall walking. He was mall
walking.
Mall walking towards him. And instead of going around the boombox, Pat McAfee punk kicks this thing so hard it goes out of screen.
Yeah.
And
doesn't just walk through it. He could have just kept walking and it would have gone out of his way.
No,
he's like, screw this boombox. Get the fuck out of my way. I got 2 more teenagers to kill, and then I'm done.
Jason kicked that boombox like I owed him money.
Visualize and then attack.
Yeah.
He was doing the Waterboy thing.
So he kicks it, and this group was like, well, yo, man, what the hell? And the leader of the group was like, yo, dead meat, slime bag. And then he flips his his
butterfly knife out,
his switchblade or whatever, and he's like, and again, there's like microphones in the weapons for no reason, and
it turns into a random kung fu movie.
Yeah, he's like, you're dead meat, slime bag, and then he flips his knife, and it's like, and then,
I heard that I read that they cut that second of him flipping the butterfly knife around. They cut that in the UK version for some reason. They couldn't have him like flipping the knife around. It looked too cool, maybe, or something. I don't know.
And instead of Jason just turning around and killing him, what he does is he stops, turns around, takes his mask off, and shows his
his deformed decaying face,
alien face, and they're like, "Oh no, we're cool, man, we're cool,"
yeah,
and they bolt
cool. and
they run away.
Yeah,
fantastic,
this warriors style street gang.
Fantastic scene.
Yeah. I just love that.
Those are mine, man. Those are.
Oh man.
Well, and they get to the diner and they're trying to call for help, and they're talking to the waitress. They're like, "Look, you don't understand. There's a maniac trying to kill us." And the waitress just looks at her and she's like, "Welcome to New York."
I had a couple. The one I did at the top. Is that a muscular bot or what?
Yeah,
that's the one girl who they're spying on the sparring match with Julius and the other rando that gets got pretty quickly after that one. But Yeah, they're spying on them, and she's, lusting over him. Is that a muscular bot or what? And then I realized after I wrote them down, there's another line that's very similar to that earlier with JJ when she's rocking out. They're doing that random music video on top of the boat for some reason. And she's like, is this axe awesome or what? And then like 10 minutes later, we have basically the same line of dialogue. They just swap out 2 words. It's weird. But yeah, so I had both of those. How often do you hear somebody actually use the word axe for a guitar? And we can talk about this whole scene. Let me list that one last, I guess. Oh, we mentioned Julius saying after he does Mike Tyson's Punch Out with Jason, he says, "Take your best shot, motherfucker." Oh, and you mentioned the loud as hell when he cocks the gun. And because he lays out a bunch of weapons, and they're like, okay, everybody take your pick, and we're going to go hunt down Jason before he gets us.
Yeah.
Wayne looks up at him. He's like, Julius, what are you going to take? And he's like, nothing but this gun.
Again, he batted 1,000 in this movie. And, man,
absolutely.
Every single line.
He's so good.
Man, every single Julius scene, I was like ready to go war with him.
Oh, okay, and then the last one I had. One real quick. After they pull the emergency brake in the subway, Jason goes flying, and they're like scrambling, trying to get out of the thing. Everybody's like complaining that the subway stopped suddenly, and there's just some random guy in the background.
In the way back.
Was like, is this my stop?
It's funny because I've watched the movie a million times, like I said, but I just started watching TV and stuff with captions now.
Yeah, subtitles.
By the way, game changer. I don't know why I didn't do that sooner.
Yeah, no.
But
it's
anyway.
it's much easier for missing. You miss a lot of dialogue when you're watching.
I missed that.
Especially older movies, because a lot of times the dialogue's a little fuzzy.
Last night when I watched it, that's the first time I noticed that line. Yeah. I never picked up on that line until I had captions.
It just sounds like just kind of
just background
additional murmuring.
Yeah. And when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, that is amazing. That is an amazing just one-off line. Like,
okay, so my last one, and we can turn this into a greater discussion about this scene if you want, but my last nominee is just, hey.
Okay, a little context. Again, we mentioned earlier this Tamara, the promiscuous one. For some reason, she has this biology project.
Yeah, she's like the only one still doing homework.
And she has to present it in her room.
Yeah, in this cabin on the ship to her teacher. He's apparently is the science teacher, biology teacher or whatever.
Yeah, so very, very strange. But so her idea was to try to like sleep with him.
Yeah.
And he comes into her room to check the project, and she's in this very like silky robe, and she pulls
like pretty obvious. She offers him champagne.
Yeah. She slowly takes it off and reveals she's just in her bra and underwear, but she like drew anatomy, like very detailed artwork by the way.
Yeah, actually pretty good.
Somehow did that real quick. Well, it was probably the cocaine she took. That's why she did it.
Yeah, she was pretty hyped up.
So it has this like airbrushed anatomy drawn on her body, right?
Yeah.
And she's trying to seduce him. And she starts, and as she's undressing,
yeah,
he just was like,
hey.
And then he just keeps going as she's undressing, and he's like, young lady, what are you doing? Stop. Young lady, and then stop.
She kisses him. They like fall onto the bed. She makes out with him for a little bit, way too long. And then eventually he does stop her.
Very uncomfortable.
It goes on probably 15 seconds too long. Probably should have stopped that before you hit the bed, McCullough.
I really hope she's one of those turns 18 at the very beginning of her seniors, and not.
Yeah, I'm hoping she was
and not
at least 18.
Turns 18 a month after you graduate seniors.
Yeah. I mean, either way, it's iffy because he's like 50 something. But
sure, but one would be a minor and one wouldn't be. That's the difference. That's the main difference.
Yeah, either way, just that delivery, because it's every other line he delivers is basically the exact same tone the whole movie. He's just like angry and an asshole and kind of sarcastic the whole time, and then suddenly his demeanor changes when he sees like an 18-year-old undressing in front of him. Ugh. That's some kind of scene. But anyway, before we get to best deaths, I do have a worse death, and that's the captain when he gets his throat cut. It's just completely bloodless.
I was gonna bring that up in nitpicks, but I figured we were gonna talk about it with death. So
yeah, like his neck just opens up, and you see the cut, and then he just like falls over. There's no blood at all.
He slices him, and there's no cut mark. There's no blood running out. There's nothing until his head
like,
tilts back,
his...
and it's just like an open wound that's been cauterized. It looks like.
Yeah, like literally nothing runs out. It's so weird. Anyway, so that was the lame death. Pretty bad job on their part there. But anyway, Beth's deaths. What you got?
So we'll just list all the deaths, and then we'll kind of narrow it down from there. So we got the harpoon in the opening scene. We have JJ. She's going down to this sound room,
Yeah,
or
she's
this, like,
the rocker. She's got her axe that she's wailing on.
and she goes down to this like
the engine room or something.
Yeah, something. She wants to record a music video.
I think they called it the power room.
Something like that. Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah.
Jason comes down the stairs and he steals the guitar. She's running down and he just like cuts her off and just
he teleports in front of her
just
again.
Barry Bonds the shit out of her. And
in POV too.
POV too. That's that. And just one axe blow,
one blow.
Yeah, just dead. And then you got Julius and the other guy that was boxing. The other guy goes to the sauna and there's those big rocks.
Yeah, the big like hot rocks that makes the steam.
He's just laying there with the towel over his head. Jason walks in. He assumes it's Julius. He's trying to talk to him, and he takes one of those rocks and
and you can hear it singe, like because Jason. That's another thing. Jason is wet the entire time.
Yeah,
this entire movie, he's never not dripping wet. He's in Manhattan, out of the water for hours, somehow still dripping water. Anyway. But yeah, so you hear like his wet glove like singes on the rock. I thought it was a nice touch.
Well, another nitpick, if you notice, he basically that's how he kills him. He stabs him through like the stomach navel area.
Yeah,
and he just burns through his stomach. But when he leaves, it's wound,
up in his chest.
Yeah,
I noticed that too.
You have the guy that climbs the tower and then gets thrown off. Like he falls on the antennas, like the signal antennas.
Yeah, like the radio tower.
He gets kebabbed. Julius, boxing.
Yep.
Jason decapitated. That's
turns
a good one.
Turns him into a Pez dispenser.
McCullough just gets drowned in that green acid with the dead rat in it. Very justified. That was a very earned death.
A little splinter.
I always forget what's the female teacher's name. I don't know. It's some very weird name.
But it's like Van Housen or
but
something.
But the police car blows up and she's in it, so she doesn't get killed by Jason.
Yeah, that was kind of a lame one.
Yeah,
they don't even they kind of mention it afterward, but they should have cut to her incapacitated or something, so we know. You realize after the fact that she was still in the car, but they don't mention it beforehand, so you can't even react to it. It's weird.
Yeah, Tamara's wasn't funny. The only good part of that one was when he just aggressively punched the mirror for no reason.
Very aggro, just slams the mirror.
Tamara's friend, where she goes into the dance room that's still playing the music and just
randomly
completely
sees
forgets how to be a person.
Completely disoriented by just multiple doors.
Yeah.
I don't know.
My favorite death is the axe or the guitar. I love that scene so much. I just get...
one other one. The thugs or whatever that kidnap Rennie when there's about to be a sexual assault happen. Jason comes up and grabs the heroin needle that he just injected her with and somehow stabs it all the way through his body.
All the way through. Somehow it comes out the front.
Yeah, so his hand would have had to go through too. Somehow he just led the way. Once he made the protrusion, once he made the injection, somehow it opened up the path for the rest of his hand. He is super strong.
I would say, which is not. He decapitated a guy.
He's definitely superhuman.
So it's not out of the question.
And he throws that big guy from the diner. He just chucks him. He just grabs him and throws him all the way over the bar into the mirror.
But it doesn't kill him.
No.
Again, he had no beef with the New Yorkers.
He's just, get out of my way. I got 2 teenagers to kill. I missed 2. I'm batting 1,000 here. Let's go. Come on.
The coal death is pretty good too, but I think the best death is
the what?
The coal.
Oh, the
sauna.
rock. Yeah,
but I do think the best death is Julius's.
So I did have another thing with the needle one, the assistant hoodlum that comes out, his sidekick. he comes back. He's like, I forgot my money. I don't know how you forget your money when you're about to go buy drugs, but
Yeah. Probably because he's on drugs.
That's probably true. Did he actually die or just get like a really bad concussion? Because he just slams his head into a pipe.
Yeah, I assume he slams into the pipe and the steam from the pipe hits him right in the face. So I assume that probably kills him.
No, okay. I didn't know. Like maybe just bad concussion, little CTE.
Maybe we don't
Maybe.
we don't see him actually get killed. So I just assume I just assume he's dead on that.
Yeah,
one, but.
that's probably a good one. I had one other fun fact. Apparently, Kane Hodder, the guy who plays Jason, he insisted that the actor who plays Julius actually hit him in the face in that scene. Like,
you can
actually
tell.
make contact. I noticed that earlier. I'm like, it looks really real. Like they did a pretty good job, like faking that. And then I found out, he was actually hitting him. That makes sense because it looks really good.
My only nitpick with the scene is, his hands are all bloody, but there's no blood on Jason's mask.
Oh yeah,
But it's a minor quibble, no big deal. But I think that's the best death of the whole movie.
Yeah, it's definitely the most memorable one.
And I mean, R.I.P. Julius.
Yeah.
He was the star of that movie. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, definitely the MVP.
I mean, obviously Jason usually wins all the movies, but like, I will ride or die with Julius all day.
Yeah, he's definitely the goat of Jason Takes Manhattan. He really nailed it on this one.
Yeah.
Really wish he could have made it somehow, but then we would have missed out on that death scene.
Yeah.
So, but I think that is that what we're going with? You think best death?
It's Julius.
I think it's got to be.
Yeah.
So, I think I have a pretty good appreciation for movies, and if I'm watching them for somebody else, so they don't have to, it's probably so bad that I don't want to watch it either. But so I think this is movies that are kind of generally thought to be bad, but are actually pretty good if you go into it with the right mindset. So I think we're kind of bringing an appreciation to some bad movies.
Yeah.
We're polishing some turds here. Maybe that's what we call it. That'll be our title. Turd Polishers.
Shut the hell
The
up.
Counterclockwise presents Turd Polishers.
I think that's a good way to end.
Yeah, that'll probably wrap it up there.
So that's Jason Takes Manhattan. If you're a horror movie fan, check it out. Or if not, it's okay. But just check out Julius's death. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, just that one. Or the boombox scene with the. All right, that's the show, the new one. We hope you enjoyed it as much as Jason loves his mama. And you can pay that love forward by sharing this podcast with friends, family, slasher movie fans, fans of just movies that are so bad they're good kind of thing. You can find us on Spotify, Podbean, wherever you get your podcasts. So don't forget to like us on your platform of choice and subscribe so you don't miss a new episode. Hit the little bell so it'll ding you every time we post a new one. You can leave us a review. That'd be great. Tell people you know. That's always helpful. Leave us a review. That helps us get seen on the different platforms. Like us on Facebook and follow us at CCWisePod on Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and Twitter. You can follow me on just about everything at Tyler_W. Where can everybody find you out there, sir?
You can find me on Twitter at bwise23. I'm also on Instagram at NotTheFakeBW and TikTok at NotTheFakeBrandonWise. So go ahead and join us in a couple weeks where we have another Halloween-themed episode of Counterclockwise.
And stay spooky and stay brilliant. The new movie version of Counterclock.
Quack, 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 quack. Go Ducks.